NASA's latest discovery has sent shockwaves through religious communities around the world. The space agency, famous for its moon landing and countless achievements, recently unveiled a disturbing image captured by the Hubble Space Telescope. This haunting snapshot reveals something in the cosmos that challenges long-held beliefs and has people questioning everything. Could this discovery be a sign of something greater, or is it just another question of the universe? Let us dive into the unsettling details of this revelation that could reshape our understanding of existence. On a chilly December day in 1994, an image started making the rounds online that people said came from NASA's Hubble Space Telescope. It was December 26, and at a NASA office in the United States, a bunch of scientists were gathered around their computers, totally shocked by the photos the Hubble had sent back. One photo, in particular, caught everyone's attention. It looked like a huge, bright city floating in space. This was a huge surprise, and soon, these images were all over the internet. Normally, only space scientists in special labs get to see these kinds of images, but suddenly, anyone with internet access could see them too, and they quickly went viral. The US government tried to keep these images under wraps at first. They didn't want people to start panicking or get too worked up about them, but they were a bit too slow. A photographer out at Ellington Airfield had already snapped shots of the image and started showing it around. This image showed what looked like a view of space with features that seemed man-made, like towers, columns, and caverns. There was one part of the image that was a bit blurry, and that's where Ken Wilson, a university lecturer, stepped in. He took out his magnifying glass to take a better look. Ken noticed that the blurry spot had a strange shape. This made it clear that there wasn't any error in how the image was sent from the Hubble to Earth. The NASA folks were certain that the odd appearance wasn't because of any issues with the telescope itself. After a quick huddle, NASA decided to take another shot of the spot where they found the weird thing in space. They adjusted the Hubble with utmost care and aimed it precisely at that part of space. Soon, they had a new image which they displayed on a big screen back in the lab. When they did, everything stopped. Everyone just stared at the screen. The area that was blurry before was now crystal clear, and it was both amazing and a bit unnerving. The new image showed something that looked like it was glowing on its own, kind of like a city. But this wasn't any ordinary city. It looked like something out of a sci-fi book or a futuristic movie, with tall, shining buildings and lots of lights that seemed totally out of this world. This massive city appeared to stretch endlessly into space, way larger than anyone could really imagine. People started calling it the City of God, and some even thought it might be what heaven looks like. One person from NASA even suggested it might be where we all end up after we die, though that sounds more like a story from a fantasy book than real science. As they kept studying the images from Hubble, they realized that this city in space wasn't just sitting there, it was actually moving. And it wasn't just moving randomly, it was moving in a pattern that matched up with the galaxies around it. This movement followed the rules of the Big Bang Theory, which talks about how the universe began and grew. So, even though it seemed impossible, this city was acting like it was a natural part of the universe, following the same laws as everything else in space. But that's not all. The more they looked into how the city moved, the more interesting things they found. It was almost like looking at a 3D map of the far-off universe on a giant screen. It seemed like the universe wasn't moving away from us. Rather, we were moving away from the city, almost as if the city was at the center of everything. They even created computer models that showed how other galaxies seemed to be drifting away from this city. The deeper they dug, the more this city seemed full of wonders and surprises. It was like a big cosmic story, and every new piece they discovered told them more about how the universe works, making everyone think about what else might be out there, far beyond our little corner of the universe. As this discovery spread, a more troubling thought came up: there might be even more hidden in space that we don't know about. But there's a twist. Some folks say NASA tried to keep this incredible picture confidential. Why they'd want to do that is a big question. Maybe they thought showing this picture to everyone all at once might freak people out or confuse them. It's a bit hard to understand, like there's something big they're not telling us. These amazing images that could change the way we see everything were almost kept hidden from just about everyone. When you look really closely at the picture, you can see lots of little details that make you wonder if you're just seeing natural stuff. There are shapes that look like tall buildings, huge round structures, and there's even something that looks a lot like a castle tower. It's almost as if the photo is showing us a city in outer space that's set up in a really unusual way. This makes you wonder if this place just formed by itself or if something else is going on. Amid these structures, there were figures that looked just like angels. Yes, angels. At first, the scientists thought they had found a new group of stars because the colors were so bright and vivid. But it didn't take long for them to realize that what they were actually seeing seemed more like living beings. According to NASA, these angel-like figures had a striking orange color. Reports say that a group of these angels was seen flying near the NGC 3532 star cluster, which has been around for 3 billion years. Initially, the experts thought the weird signals they were picking up were just some typical glitches from the super-expensive, $1.5 billion Hubble Space Telescope. But after they took a closer look, what they saw was absolutely stunning. On a cold December day in 1994, an intriguing photograph believed to be from NASA's Hubble Space Telescope began to circulate. This photo, revealed the day after Christmas, showed giant beings with angel-like features, each towering about 50 feet high with massive wings resembling those of an airplane. Their faces radiated peace, and they seemed almost delighted to be captured on camera, sharing smiles as if they knew something wonderful that we didn't. This event wasn't the first of its kind. A scientist from Russia, who moved to the United States in 1985, shared stories of Soviet astronauts who encountered similar glowing, happy beings during a space mission years earlier. He suggested that space might be teeming with countless more of these beings. It appears that both American and former Soviet agencies continue to monitor these phenomena, perhaps on the brink of confirming their existence officially. Revealing this image right after Christmas seems quite strategic. During the holiday season, people are often in high spirits, spending time with loved ones and reflecting on life's bigger questions. This makes them more receptive to extraordinary ideas or unusual events. By choosing this time for the release, the image quickly captured widespread attention, playing into the festive mood and open-mindedness of the season. Whether these images depict real entities or are simply fabrications remains unknown. However, tales have circulated for decades about NASA encountering divine-like phenomena in space. These stories blend the boundaries between scientific exploration and spiritual speculation, hinting at a universe that may hold more than just planets and stars. Another example occurred in 2016 with an image that many claimed showed heaven's gates nestled among stars. However, this image was not a genuine space photo but the creation of artist Adam Ferris. He used a real image from the Hubble, altered it through pixel sorting, and produced what looked to some like a heavenly gateway. Although it was artistic manipulation, once the image hit the internet, it was misinterpreted and shared as a real celestial sighting. In a similar story, a publication known for its outlandish tales, Weekly World News, once claimed that the Hubble had photographed heaven. This story emerged after the Hubble underwent repairs that significantly improved its image clarity. The article described a luminous city in the cosmos, complete with beams of light radiating in every direction to enhance its otherworldly appearance. Even as these amazing images caught everyone's attention, talk of cover-ups and hidden truths began to grow, hinting that not everything was clear, the debate over a celestial city. However, those familiar with space photography quickly noted discrepancies. Real images from space telescopes often include diffraction spikes, which are lines of light emanating from bright objects like stars. These spikes are a result of the telescope's mirrors and vary in appearance depending on the specific design of the telescope. The supposed image of heaven showed light patterns that didn't match those typically seen in genuine photos from known space telescopes, raising doubts among experts. The appeal of such images taps into a deep-seated human desire to connect with something beyond our physical realm, to imagine a universe that also harbors spiritual dimensions. These stories, whether based on fact or fiction, feed into our fascination with the cosmos and what might lie beyond. While often dismissed by the scientific community, these narratives continue to engage the public, blurring the lines between science and spirituality. They suggest a universe that's not only vast and unknown but also potentially spiritual. These celestial tales, whether debunked or not, contribute to our broader cosmic story, inviting us to remain curious and open to the possibility of otherworldly realms. They bridge science and spirituality, offering narratives that go beyond ordinary existence and encourage us to ponder the cosmos not just for scientific discovery but for potential spiritual insights. As these stories circulate, they nurture both skepticism and wonder, challenging us to consider the intersections of observable phenomena and spiritual experiences. Whether the images represent actual celestial beings or artistic interpretations, they prompt us to explore what else space might reveal. This ongoing conversation between known facts and speculative ideas encourages us to keep looking up, seeking answers, and wondering about the vast universe. It's a reminder that space exploration might one day uncover not just new scientific knowledge but perhaps new aspects of existence. Every claim of celestial sightings, whether proved or disproved, enriches our understanding of the universe. It adds layers to the narrative of human exploration, hinting at the possibility of discoveries that could transcend our current understanding of science and spirituality. In exploring these narratives, we not only delve into the questions of space but also into our own beliefs and hopes. Each story, each image, whether real or imagined, serves as a catalyst for deeper inquiry into both the cosmos and our place within it. Ultimately, these tales encourage us to remain engaged with the cosmos, ever curious and open to the marvels it may hold. They remind us of the endless possibilities that await us in the vast expanse above, perhaps revealing not just new worlds but also new realms of understanding. When sunlight hits the big glass at the front of a telescope, it can sometimes get a bit twisted because of how the glass is shaped and the metal parts that hold it in place. If we're looking at big, fuzzy things in the sky, this twisting doesn't really spoil the view too much, and we hardly notice it. But when we aim the telescope at really bright spots like stars, these twists show up as sharp lines shooting out from the star in the picture. These lines, which people call diffraction spikes, are just something that happens because of how the telescope is put together. They don't really teach us anything about the star itself. But there's a cool little detail here: the pattern of these lines can actually tell you which telescope took the photo. This piece of science starts to poke holes in the whole story about the picture that's supposed to show heaven. The picture has a lot of these spiky lines, almost a dozen of them. This doesn't prove that the story about NASA finding heaven is made up or that the picture isn't of something heavenly. However, it does make you wonder if the image being shared around is really from NASA or if it's something else. Imagine if the picture in that news story really did come from space. If that were true, and we could prove it, then almost all doubts about whether it shows the New Jerusalem or some other heavenly city would vanish. Dr. Masson, who supposedly leaked the photo from NASA, said they were aiming at a bunch of stars when they got the shot. It might take a photography expert to confirm if the photo is legit, but even just looking closely at it, you can see that the supposed city is surrounded by stars, suggesting it could be set in space. As more of this story came to light, the truth became harder to find, leaving us to wonder how much of what we see is real and how much is hidden. The story behind a famous space photo. But here's where it gets tricky: the only ones who really know if this photo is from space are Dr. Masson, the folks at Weekly World News who said they got it, and the NASA scientists who were supposed to have taken it. Since no one has managed to chat with any of these people, figuring out if the photo is a real space shot is tough. Alright, let's talk about the timing. The Hubble Space Telescope did indeed go through some fixes back in 1993. Weekly World News reported that these fixes were all done by the middle of December that year. They said the first pictures after the fix were sent back to Earth on December 26, 1993. This fits with bits and pieces from other places saying the repairs wrapped up on December 9. The official Hubble site tells us that NASA showed off these new pictures on January 13, 1994. So, the pictures had to be sent to Earth sometime between December 9, 1993, when the fixes were done, and January 13, 1994, when everyone got to see them. The date Weekly World News mentioned, December 26, falls right in this window, so it's not outside the realm of possibility. Weekly World News first talked about these so-called heavenly images on February 8, 1994, and then brought it up again on September 10, 2009. There's nothing in the dates themselves that directly clashes with what we know from other sources. So, while the story they're telling might sound way out there, the timeline they give isn't totally off base with the real-world timeline of Hubble's repairs and the release of its photos. Back on December 2, 1993, a big spaceship called the Space Shuttle Endeavour zoomed off into space with 7 astronauts. They had a huge job ahead. They were going to fix the Hubble Space Telescope. They had to do spacewalks, which are like going outside for a walk but in space, and they did this for 5 whole days. They swapped out a part of the telescope called the high-speed photometer for something called CoStar. They also switched the old camera for a new and better one called WFPC2. And they didn't stop there. They also changed solar panels, fixed fuse plugs, and replaced a bunch of other bits and pieces. By December 9th, their big fix-it job was done. Then, on January 13, 1994, NASA showed everyone the first set of photos taken by the now-fixed Hubble. And wow, were they stunning! The pictures were super clear and detailed. It was like Hubble had gotten a new pair of glasses and could now see the universe in sharp focus. This was the moment when Hubble really started to live up to all the hype and hope people had for it. Now, let's shift gears and talk about something really cool that Hubble saw. Picture yourself staring out into the deep, vast space and finding, instead of just plain old stars, strange ladder-like patterns swirling around a dimming star. This is a real thing that Hubble found, and it kind of makes us think about that legendary city of God in space. Even though we haven't actually found the mythical stairway to heaven, the sight of these ladder shapes around the star brings up lots of questions. There's this thing out in space called the Red Rectangle Nebula, also known by its less catchy name, HD 44179. It's got this nickname because when you look at it with regular telescopes from Earth, it appears as a red, rectangular shape. But Hubble, with its super sharp eyes, has shown us so much more about this nebula that we couldn't see before, all thanks to its special location above the Earth's blurry atmosphere. The red rectangle has turned out to be a real head-scratcher, much like the intricate and confusing details we've heard about in the so-called City of God. This red rectangle nebula is filled with all kinds of amazing things. It has these patterns that look like steps or maybe even a spider's web. These aren't just for show, they are actually made up of gas shooting out from the star in a really organized way. Imagine a bunch of wine glasses, all stacked inside each other, but instead of wine, they are overflowing with gas. Could this unsettling discovery be a glimpse into something the world's religions aren't ready to face? Share your thoughts, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.